You know someone like this? That friend who always gets what they want. The coworker who climbs the ladder faster than everyone else. They have this uncanny ability to read people, to say exactly what others want to hear. Their charm is magnetic. Their confidence, unshakable. People just naturally follow their lead. But something feels off. You've noticed how their kindness switches on and off like a light. How their stories shift depending on who's listening. How their promises last only as long as they're useful. They're warm when they need something, cold when they don't. Maybe this person is your boss. Maybe your romantic partner. Maybe that childhood friend who always managed to talk their way out of trouble. Someone who sees relationships not as connections, but as transactions. Who treats people like game pieces rather than human beings. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote about this mindset 500 years ago in The Prince. It's the manipulator's playbook, the person who masters the dark art of using others, who believes the ends always justify the means, who follows power, not principles. They dazzle us with their results, their ability to make things happen, to cut through social rules and get what they want. But behind this skill hides something disturbing, the complete inability to form real, honest connections with others. The manipulator sees emotions as tools, vulnerability as a strategy, trust as something to exploit, not honor. They'll make you feel special one moment, then discard you the next when you're no longer useful. And the scariest part? They'll make you believe it was your fault all along. That person who leaves you feeling confused after conversations, who's charming to everyone but drains your energy, who makes you question your own memories and apologize for things you didn't do. I'm about to show you exactly who is manipulator around you and how to finally free yourself from their psychological games. Before we move further, do like the video and subscribe to my channel. Remember that morning when your spouse sighed heavily while getting ready, then insisted nothing's wrong until you spent your commute anxiously replaying yesterday's conversations? Or that lunch break when your coworker just happened to mention their childcare fell through right before asking you to cover their weekend shift? Or the group chat where your friend posted vacation photos captioned, "Would have invited everyone, but some people are always too busy for me," making you defend your absence from an invitation that never existed? That's manipulation, the daily psychological tax you pay in moments so ordinary you barely notice them. The master manipulator weaves their tactics into life's fabric. The roommate whose dishes sit unwashed until you clean them, then claims, "I was just about to do those." The sibling who borrows money with elaborate repayment promises but makes you feel cruel for mentioning it weeks later. The neighbor who lets their dog bark all night, then tells you nobody else has complained. Their power lies in making extraordinary violations feel mundanely debatable. They'll read your texts without permission, then call you paranoid for wanting privacy. They'll consistently arrive 30 minutes late, then label you uptight about time. They'll make cruel jokes at your expense. So how do you deal with these manipulators? First, trust your gut. That uneasy feeling isn't paranoia. It's your emotional radar working perfectly. Second, buy yourself time before responding. Simple phrases like, "I need to think about that," or "I'll let you know tomorrow," give you space to consider what you actually want. Third, keep records of important conversations. A quick note in your phone can protect you from "I never said that" gaslighting. Fourth, use clear, direct language without long explanations. "That doesn't work for me" is a complete sentence. Fifth, set small boundaries before attempting big ones. Maybe you can't end a toxic relationship immediately, but you can stop answering texts at midnight. Finally, build a support network of honest friends who validate your experience. Manipulators thrive in isolation, where their version of reality goes unchallenged. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't mean or selfish. It's the essential skill manipulators hope you never develop. The manipulator isn't free. They're handcuffed to their own games. While they believe they're the puppet master, they're actually dancing on strings of their own making. They don't just manipulate others. They're imprisoned by their manipulation. Think about it. While everyone else enjoys Sunday dinner with family, the manipulator is analyzing power dynamics across the table. While others fall in love, they're drafting relationship contracts in their mind. While others grieve, they're calculating how to leverage sympathy. You've witnessed this firsthand. That boss who preaches teamwork while pitting colleagues against each other. The partner who says, "I love you," with one eye on what they can get from you. The friend who remembers your vulnerabilities but conveniently forgets their promises. "I'm just being realistic," they insist. This is how the world works. But look closer. See the fear hiding behind those calculating eyes? They're not calculating because they're strong. They're calculating because they're terrified of being powerless, of being exposed, of not being the one holding all the cards. Sentiment is for the weak, they'll tell you with a dismissive wave. But watch them flinch when someone offers genuine affection. Watch them panic when faced with a situation they can't control. Their supposed strength is actually their deepest wound. Machiavelli warned that a prince who rules through fear must sleep with one eye open. How exhausting to live like that, always scanning for threats, always wondering who might betray you, always wearing masks upon masks until you forget your own face. Without trust, you build an empire of sand. Without authenticity, you win the game but lose yourself. The manipulator sits alone atop their mountain of tactical victories, surrounded by people who serve them but never love them. The ultimate irony? The very people they dismiss as weak. Those who risk vulnerability, who choose honesty even when it costs them, who extend trust rather than suspicion. These fools experience depths of connection and joy the manipulator can barely comprehend. And here's the twist that would make even Machiavelli squirm. The manipulator's greatest victim isn't others, it's themselves. Their soul corrodes from the inside out while they're busy fortifying the walls around it. This is the shadow cast by the Machiavellian sun, where brilliant strategy creates the darkest kind of inner poverty. At first, they seem amazing. The way they read people, the way they always get what they want. It's like watching a master at work. But then you start to see the cracks. That brilliance? It comes with a price. What looked like strength is actually fear in disguise. What seemed like freedom is really a prison they built themselves. Machiavelli wasn't just writing for Italian princes 500 years ago. He spotted something timeless about human nature, how some people believe anything goes as long as you win. Psychologists today call it the dark triad: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Fancy words for a simple truth. Some people will use anyone to get ahead. You see it everywhere. The boss who steals credit for your ideas. The ex who studied your insecurities better than they studied your birthday. The friend who's suddenly busy when you need help, but expects you to drop everything for them. Here's what manipulators get wrong. They think everyone's just out for themselves. They believe loyalty is something you force, not earn. They see love as a tool, not a treasure. They mistake their coldness for wisdom, their loneliness for independence, their fear for power, and they completely miss what actually matters in life: real connection. While they're busy plotting and planning every interaction, they're blind to the genuine bonds that make life worth living. They might win the promotion, the argument, the breakup. They might control the room, the narrative, the relationship. But at what cost? A life without trust, without real friendship, without ever being truly known or loved for who they actually are. That's not winning. That's the saddest kind of losing. If this hits close to home, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep exploring what makes people tick. No manipulator becomes skilled overnight. Behind every master of control lies a history, a journey that started somewhere. And almost always, there's someone who first taught them that manipulation works. This teacher isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's a parent who rewarded cunning over honesty. A father who praised getting away with things rather than doing the right thing. A mother who modeled using tears to control rather than express genuine emotion. Sometimes it's a childhood bully who showed that power feels better than connection. Or an early heartbreak that whispered, "Never be vulnerable again." Or a culture that celebrates winning at all costs. Whatever the source, the lesson sticks. People are pieces to be moved, not humans to be respected. The manipulator carries this lesson everywhere, especially into close relationships. They don't see partners, they see resources. They don't seek connection, they seek advantage. They study your weaknesses not to understand you better, but to use them when needed. Watch how they test boundaries early. A small lie here, a broken promise there. They're measuring how much you'll tolerate, calibrating their approach to your specific vulnerabilities. When caught, they have an arsenal of responses. The righteous anger that makes you apologize for their betrayal. The tearful confession designed to trigger your sympathy. The vague promise of change that somehow never materializes. And most effective of all, making you doubt your own reality. That's not what happened. You're too sensitive. I never said that, until you no longer trust your own perceptions. This is gaslighting. Named after a 1944 film where a husband manipulates his wife into believing she's going insane. It's the manipulator's most powerful weapon because it attacks your ability to trust yourself. The truly tragic part? Many manipulators don't fully realize what they're doing. Their behavior is so ingrained, so automatic that it feels natural, normal, necessary. They genuinely believe everyone operates this way. Others are just less skilled at the game, and they're terrified of what would happen if they stopped playing. If they laid down their armor and strategic thinking, what would remain? Who would they even be? This fear keeps them trapped in patterns that destroy everything meaningful in their lives. A prison built of tactics and schemes where genuine human connection can never reach them. In the next part, we'll uncover the surprising weakness at the heart of every manipulator, and why, despite their apparent strength, they're actually the most fragile people in the room. Even the greatest manipulators crash eventually. Not with a bang, but with a whisper that grows into a scream. What the hell am I doing with my life? Maybe it happens at 3 a.m. when they're staring at the ceiling, surrounded by trophies, but zero people who truly know them. Maybe it's when their child flinches at their approach, already learning to calculate rather than connect. Or when they look in the mirror and can't remember which version of themselves is real anymore. The fortress starts to feel like a prison. The game becomes exhausting rather than thrilling. The victory tastes like dust. If you've made it this far, something about this message has grabbed you by the collar and won't let go. Maybe you recognize these manipulation tactics in someone who's hurt you. Maybe you saw flashes of your own behavior in these descriptions. Or maybe you're standing at that crossroads right now, seeing both paths with painful clarity. Wherever you are, know this. There's no shame in recognizing manipulation. We've all used these tactics at some point. We've all calculated rather than connected. We've all hidden behind masks when being genuine felt too dangerous. The difference isn't between manipulators and good people. It's between those who choose to face this pattern and those who turn away. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Life gets smaller when you manipulate. With each person you use, each truth you bend, each mask you wear, your world shrinks. Your victories grow hollow. Your connections thin out. You build an empire where you rule alone. And time doesn't care about your strategies. It marches on, leaving you with the consequences of how you've treated people, the bridges you've burned, the trust you've shattered, the parts of yourself you've sacrificed at the altar of control. Machiavelli believed that ruthlessness was strength and compassion was weakness. 5 centuries of human experience have proven him catastrophically wrong. The truly powerful aren't those who control others through fear and manipulation. They're those with the courage to be genuine in a world that rewards performance. Real power isn't making people do what you want. It's being someone people want to follow because they trust your character. It's building connections that don't depend on your usefulness. It's the freedom to be known, truly known, without fear. This isn't idealism. It's the most practical wisdom there is. Because at the end, we don't measure our lives by what we controlled, but by who we connected with. Not by what we achieved, but by who we became. The choice is yours. Continue playing chess with people's lives and emotions, or step into the messy, beautiful, terrifying experience of authentic human connection. Keep winning battles while losing yourself, or risk genuine vulnerability and discover who you might become. This is the manipulator's crisis point, when the armor they've built becomes too heavy to stand under. When they realize they've won every battle but are losing the war against their own humanity. I've seen powerful executives break down in private, confessing they haven't had a genuine conversation in decades, dating experts who can seduce anyone but can't maintain a connection past 3 months, social chameleons who can work any room but don't know who they are when they're alone. The journey back is brutal. Imagine learning to walk again after a lifetime of crawling. Imagine stepping outside naked after decades behind walls. Imagine speaking a language you've heard but never practiced. First comes the terrifying realization: I don't know how to be real with people. The manipulator has spent so long calculating optimal responses that authenticity feels like jumping without a parachute. What if I'm honest and it doesn't work? What if I'm vulnerable and get destroyed? What if the real me isn't enough? Then comes withdrawal. Like any addiction, manipulation provides short-term power but long-term destruction. And like any withdrawal, giving it up hurts like hell. The urge to slip back into old patterns burns when you feel threatened, when someone challenges you, when opportunity for advantage appears. But if they push through, something extraordinary happens. Former manipulators often become the most genuinely connected people in a room. Their ability to read others, once used for control, transforms into profound empathy. Their strategic thinking, once used for advantage, becomes vision that serves something larger than themselves. It's like a master safecracker who becomes a security expert. Same skills, different purpose. I watched one former corporate manipulator break down in tears during this process. I realized I've spent 20 years learning how to make people do what I want, he said, and 0 time learning how to love or be loved. I'm successful by every measure except the ones that actually matter. 3 months later, his relationships were messy, but more real. His influence was based on respect rather than fear. He described it as finally breathing after a lifetime of holding my breath. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He never considered the possibility that the most powerful position is being trusted, something neither fear nor manipulated love can achieve. The manipulator who transforms doesn't become weak. They become authentic and discover that authenticity carries a power that manipulation can only mimic. But here's the brutal truth. Most will never make this journey. The fear runs too deep. The habits are too ingrained. The admission of what they've been doing would shatter their self-image beyond repair. For those who stand at this crossroads, wondering if another way is possible, the next part is for you.